The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the gentlelady. So here we are again. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle who constantly always talk about the need to support a CR to, quote, keep the lights on, now find themselves in the curious position of not wanting to have the lights on because they don't like what's happening. So they don't want the lights to be on because you've got people in the executive branch who have taken seriously the election mandate that was given to the President of the United States to end the absurdity of nonstop wasteful spending, the ridiculousness of expenditures like $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. Like, that's the kind of stuff that make the American people's head explode. And there are dozens, hundreds of these examples I could sit here and list. And the fact is, this stuff is getting exposed in real time. The American people are seeing it. And now my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are trying to run from it. That's why they don't like this bill. That's why they want to have a shutdown after all of these years of decrying the possibility of shutdown. You're seeing all of the news today talking about the possibility of a Schumer shutdown. You're talking about, there's news article after news article. The Hill, February 11th, Democrats step up talk about using shutdown as leverage against Donald Trump. Democrat senators who request anonymity said that March 14th deadline may be the best leverage they have. Democrats in Congress see potential shutdown as leverage to counter Trump. U.S. Congress, The Guardian, February 15th. I could insert into the record dozens of these stories because the fact of the matter is the gig is up. Much like the American people were able to see the absolute and rampant corruption in our education system during COVID, when everything was shut down and they were watching their kids and they saw these screens and they said, what on earth are they being taught? And suddenly the American people saw the reality of our broken education system. They saw the fraud that was perpetrated by Anthony Fauci on the American people and shutting down their way of life. And now you've got Democrats who are now being exposed for having continuously funded this largesse and this bureaucracy that is completely indefensible. The American people are tired of having their tax dollars taken and dollars being borrowed by an endless stream of borrowing by this Congress. And now you've got a Congress that is willing to work with the president to stop it, to stand up and say enough. And what are we putting in place? Oh, the horror, a spending freeze? Oh, can you believe it, that the federal government might need to tighten its belt and have a spending freeze? And then my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to bring out these parade of horribles, and somehow that is a massive number of cuts, because only in Washington is that a cut. When you've got a spending freeze and holding basically spending in check from 2024, and we have a bill that, by the way, pulls out earmarks, which are often replete with special wish lists. By the way, that's both sides of the aisle. And we've got a bill here that is going to hold spending in check to allow us to do our job for the fiscal year 26 appropriation cycle between now and September. By the way, it was Republicans who passed 5 appropriations bills off of the House floor last year and 12 appropriations bills out of committee last year. The previous year, it was Republicans who passed 7 off the floor and all 12 out of committee. The Democrat-led Senate passed 0. You want to know why we are where we are right now? It's because our Democratic colleagues in the Senate passed 0 appropriations bills, not one. So we came in here, now Republicans have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, and now we're trying to get things moving in the right direction, and our Democrat colleagues don't want to have any part of it. So we're putting forward a common sense measure that, look, I understand why some of my conservative flank fiscal conservatives have concerns about a CR. I don't love CRs. But when you can have a CR that extends spending at 2024 levels for the next 6 months and empowers the president to be able to continue to do what they're doing, shining the light on spending restraint, shining the light on waste so that we can do our job and implement that. And by the way, I'll say that to both sides of the aisle. Both sides of the aisle need to take in that information and implement it when we do appropriations this year. Move spending down, eliminate the waste, try to do something about the fact that in 2019, our entire budget was $4.5 trillion. Today, it is $7 trillion. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle have no answer to that besides, magic tax cuts. You could literally confiscate the wealth of the wealthiest 1% of America and not dent what we've got in terms of $36 trillion in debt, when you would kill jobs and destroy the economy in the process. But that's the only answer my colleagues have to $7 trillion in spending. The fact of the matter is this CR is responsible. It's fiscally appropriate. It'll leave the lights on so that the president and Doge and Elon and Russ Voter and OMB can do their job. And I hope that my colleagues on this side of the aisle will support the rule. I yield back.
Gentlelady.